The New York Post speculated that maybe Trump's going to have to get creative with properties because we know Trump's a billionaire, but a lot of his money is tied up in real estate. The Post writing that he's got properties in Manhattan, Westchester, and the Hudson Valley, even his iconic $348 million Trump Tower, which, by the way, I think that's undervaluing Trump Tower, could be on the chopping block. Do you see that happening over the next 25 days?
No. No.
So he'll just write a check, Alina?
I'm not going to get into privileged information, but there will be a bond and there will be no issues with that. So that's all I'll say on that.
Okay.
For the $464 million fraud judgment against him in that civil fraud case. Trump's lawyers write in a recent filing here that getting the judgment's full amount in a bond is a practical impossibility. They say they have tried to approach about 30 surety companies through 4 separate brokers and cannot get a bond for this amount.
What was it Alina Habba said again recently?
They know by looking at his statements of financial condition that this guy is worth a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars. And that didn't even include his brand, Martha.
Billions and billions and billions of dollars.
And not just the once, but twice, 3 times a crook.
But what they're trying to do between this case, between my last case, is put him out of business. It's not going to work, number one. Number two, what they're doing is a scare tactic. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong guy to pick on, in my opinion, because he's strong, he's resilient, and he happens to have a lot of cash. Now, that doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean it's okay. It's grotesquely insane. I was speaking to somebody today that actually mentioned that there are countries that literally make that in a given year in certain industries, countries in this world. But they would find somebody for what they call understating their statement of financial condition and making Deutsche Bank and Zurich, who, by the way, they still work with, money. But they're going to find him that kind of thing. It's absolutely insane. No, there will be no mayhem for the Trump organization, unfortunately. I know that probably was Miss James's goal and Judge Engoron, but that is not going to be the case.
As news broke today that Donald Trump's attorneys are now pleading with the New York Appellate Court to stay enforcement of the $355 million judgment, now over $450 million due to interest, issued by a New York trial court in Trump's civil fraud trial.
Turning now to breaking news from former President Donald Trump's legal team. Just in the last hour, Trump's lawyers said in an appeals court filing that Trump has not been able to get a bond to secure the $464 million fraud judgment against him after his New York civil fraud case.
Jose, this is a direct acknowledgement by Donald Trump and his legal team that they are not able to put up the cash or be able to get a bond by this upcoming Monday, March 25th deadline for that more than $450 million that he owes in damages stemming from the financial fraud lawsuit that he lost in the Lower Manhattan from the New York Attorney General's office. This is notable because he was able to put up a bond for that $93 million in damages for E. Jean Carroll. But in this filing this morning from his attorney, just in part, it says, quote, defendants' ongoing diligent efforts have proven that a bond in the judgment's full amount is a practical impossibility. These diligent efforts have included approaching about 30 surety companies through 4 separate brokers. A bond requirement of this enormous magnitude, effectively requiring cash reserves approaching $1 billion, is unprecedented for a private company. That is directly from Donald Trump's attorney. Again, we are just 1 week away.
I'm reminded of the numerous times that awful former Trump lawyer Alina Habba went on air bragging about his deep pockets as a means to downplay the possibility that he doesn't have the capital to post bond.
I know they announced a bond in the Carroll case, around $90 million in the Carroll case this week. Any closer to getting a bond in the real estate case? And you're right, it's a judgment, not a settlement. No agreement made in that case.
Yeah, no, I unfortunately, I can't speak to that. That's privileged, and I am the attorney, one of the attorneys on that case. But like I said, the judgment's absurd, and the fact that we're even talking about this, Martha, is absurd. And I hope that the appellate division will do the right thing here, as we've seen them do a few times before.
Okay, we will see.
So he'll just write a check, Alina?
I'm not going to get into privileged information, but there will be a bond and there will be no issues with that. So that's all I'll say on that.
Okay.
She, as in Alina Habba, she's doing a few things. One, she's doing the spectacle for her client, but two, she's also doing it because she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. I am comfortable in saying that the lack of competency on the part of Alina Habba is glaringly obvious now. She has shown she does not know how to enter evidence. She has shown that she does not know how to impeach a witness. She does not have the requisite trial skills to be defending the former president of the United States in a multi-million-dollar defamation trial. And yet, you get what you pay for. And that is exactly what is happening to Donald Trump right now. He may like the fact that she is kowtowing to him and to the MAGA out there in public, but at the end of the day, number one, and for what it's worth, I would love to have a camera and audio in the courtroom so people could really see the spectacle that it is, but there are no cameras. There is no audio in that courtroom. So the only thing that's coming out of that courtroom is going to be Trump doing his pressers and Habba doing her pressers after court, saying what they say, which is always wrong.
When in fact, in a new filing with the appellate court, Trump's team literally said that it has become, quote, a practical impossibility for Trump to post the bond needed to appeal the decision. And in addition, Trump's team is asserting that there are no bond companies that are actually willing to take real estate as collateral for a judgment of this magnitude. And this comes despite Trump and his team claiming on numerous occasions that he was extremely liquid and able to satisfy any outstanding judgment, when shockingly, it turns out they were telling porky pies, maybe sharing alternate facts on his own standing. And it's not just the mere fact that he can't post bond, it's that 30 companies have actually rejected his request for help, meaning they didn't see enough collateral to put up the payment.
So Trump's lawyers have informed the appeals court today that they are unable to get anybody, an insurance company, an underwriter, to help them post this bond, the $454 million for Trump alone, the rest to cover his sons. And what they say is that they've approached 30 insurance underwriters, some of these big, gigantic companies that you know, and they say that none of them are willing to do it. As you said, they're calling it a practical impossibility. You know, one of the reasons that they say is an issue here is that some of these insurance companies have internal limits that they won't issue a bond for more than $100 million. And some of the biggest names that you can think of in the insurance world also will not underwrite a bond and take property, which is what Trump has to put up. They want cash, they want securities, stocks, bonds, something that is what's a liquid, easy to sell asset. They don't want property. And so that is the problem that Trump has run into in trying to come up with this massive amount of money, $500 million. You know, these bond companies too, they also want their own I guess you could call it, insurance on it. They want extra money than just what the bond is, so that they can, cover this as it plays out. This bond is to stop the New York Attorney General's office from seizing the property while the appeal of the judgment and the case goes forward. So they've been asking the Trump's team has been asking the appeals court to allow them to not have to post this bond until the appeal is over. They're saying that Trump has properties that are worth more than the judgment in this case. It's just something that the insurance companies won't take. So they're saying that the Attorney General's team will be able to collect on this judgment if it stands, and they could do so by seizing some of the properties, which the Attorney General's office said they're ready to do. But they're still asking the appeals court here for more time, and that's why we're seeing this new information come out today, saying they're unable to post the bond of this magnitude. They can't get anyone to underwrite it because it is just a large amount, and particularly a large amount for one individual. Wolf?
So, Kara, what comes next in this process?
So now it is before the appeals court. There's been briefing on this. It's up to this New York State appeals court to decide whether to allow Trump to move forward with the appeal and stop the Attorney General's office from seizing properties, to give them this time to have the court case play out. If the court says that Trump does not get this stay, Trump's side is asking them to allow them to put their ruling on hold so they can appeal to the highest appeals court in New York State. Those will be decisions for the New York appeals court to decide. And of course, the New York Attorney General's office has opposed this. They want the appeals court to allow them to enforce the injunction now if Trump cannot post that bond. Wolf?
All right, Kara, we'll stay in close touch with you. We'll see what happens. A significant development indeed. And the irony is front and center for everyone to dine out on, because for months, Trump and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers, thank you, Mike Pence.
The president specifically asked me and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers asked me,
have claimed he's much wealthier than a court says, but then turn and say that he's too broke to appeal the judgment that threatens to take away those very riches. And as a result, the clock is now ticking. With only a week left until AG Letitia James can ask a judge for permission to start grabbing from Trump's portfolio, the former president has until Sunday, March 24th to obtain what amounts to a massive loan, with a surety company guaranteeing to the court that Trump will pay his financial penalty if he ultimately loses the case on appeal.
And I really would say one of two things is true here. Either he doesn't have the wealth that he suggests he has, or he didn't plan whatsoever, was so blind to what was occurring that he essentially left himself in a position where now he's going to incur significant costs and hassle and a disruption to his business that was unnecessary.
So in closing, what was that again, Alina?
Billions and billions of billions of dollars.
Billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.